Love, love, love deductive reasoning. This is logic. This is being a reasonable thinker. Does this make sense? So I want you, while you're doing this, not to think solely about the rules, like here's how you're supposed to do this problem. I want you to think about, does it make sense? Is this a logical conclusion that I'm making, okay? I feel like it's so easy to just learn a rule, like this is what you're supposed to do, and then you just do it without even thinking about what is it saying. So think about what it says. Does it make sense? If you truly are just a logical, reasonable thinker, you would never even have to learn this lesson because your brain is going to just take you to where you need to go then. However, we're learning to be logical, reasonable thinkers. Like that is what geometry is largely about. And just life in general, right? We're just learning to be reasonable people. So that's what we're going to do right now. I love it. Hopefully you love it as much as I love it. So this first one, we're talking about two different rules, okay? There's the law of detachment and there's the law of syllogism. They don't really look much alike, and I will never ask you, like, what is the law of detachment? What is the law of syllogism? You're just going to naturally use whichever law makes sense in the situation, okay? So don't worry about memorizing the name of the law. It's more about, do you understand how to use it? So law of detachment says if a conditional is true and its hypothesis is true, then we know that the conclusion will be true, okay? In other words, if we say if P then Q is true, and then they tell you that P is true, then you're going to conclude that the Q portion is true, okay? For instance, let's say I told my kids, if you do your chores, then I'll take you swimming at the end of the day, okay? My kids go about their day and they vacuum the carpet and they put the dishes away. What's going to happen at the end of the day? They're going to go swimming because I said, if you finish your chores, I'll take you swimming. Well, they finished their chores, so I'm taking them swimming, okay? If, however, I say, if you finish your chores, I'll take you swimming at the end of the day, and later on it's like, you know what, guys? Let's go swimming. What does that mean? Not necessarily that they finished their chores, right? Because maybe I just changed my mind. It was like, you know what? It is roasting hot. We need to swim. So we just went swimming anyway. You have to think about what the if portion and the then portion are doing. If you do this, then I will do this. But it's not, your conclusion is not if you do the conclusion, then the hypothesis must be true. It doesn't work like that, okay? So let's just take a look at it. We'll see if this makes sense. The first one here says, if a student gets an A on the final exam, okay, so that's hypothesis, that's our P portion, then the student will pass the course. That's our Q, okay? If P, then Q. So a teacher's saying, if student gets an A on the final exam, I will pass them, okay? I don't care if they came into the final with a 49%. If they get an A on the final, I'll let them pass the class, okay? Then it says, Susie got an A on her history final. What do you conclude? Susie passed the class, right? So we'll say Susie passed her history class. Okay, now let's think of it the other way. If a student gets an A on the final exam, then the student will pass the course. And I say, Susie passed her history course. Does that mean she got an A on the final? Have you ever passed a course not getting an A on the final? I'm sure a lot of you have, right? So it doesn't work the reverse. It has to be if P then Q is true, and they tell you the P portion is true, then you can say the conclusion is true, okay? Let's look at the second one. If you have a license, then you can legally drive a car. The next statement says, you drove to the store. What do you conclude? What? You can't conclude that you have a license, because has anyone ever driven without a license before?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You have to conclude here, it is not possible to make this conclusion because, for instance, my mom was 15, her dad needed a pack of cigarettes, and so he said, hey, Vicky, take the car, go pick up a pack of cigarettes, and then they sold her at 15 years old a pack of cigarettes because her dad wrote her a note. Hey, my daughter's picking up cigarettes for me. This was a very long time ago. That would not happen anymore. But, like, it doesn't have to be illegal driving to the store, right? But if you have a license, you can legally drive a car, right? So if I said, Vicky has a license, then we could say Vicky can legally drive to the store. However, if we're just saying if P then Q, and the Q portion is what's true, you have to say your conclusion is not possible because it could be she drove illegally. It could be she doesn't have a license, okay? So just make sure if P then Q, the P part is true, then you can say the Q part is true, okay? Questions on that? All right, let's do... Yeah, we're going to move on to law of syllogism. Law of syllogism is, I think, a little bit easier for people typically than the law of detachment is. Law of syllogism says if P then Q, if Q then R, what happens is if I'm saying if this then this and if this then that, then I can take out the two in the middle that are identical and say if P then R. Okay, so these go away. Oops. And you're left with if P then R, okay? Now, the rule is you have to get rid of a matching hypothesis and conclusion. If what you get rid of are both conclusions or what you get rid of are both hypotheses, you won't have an if-then statement left, okay? And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a minute. But let's just take a look at this first one. It says, if a figure is a square, then the figure is a rectangle. If a figure is a rectangle, then the figure has four sides. What you're going to do is you're going to take out, so if this is if P then Q, this is if Q then R, the two that are identical will go away. What is your conclusion? If a figure is a square, then it has four sides. Okay, so notice this. Law of syllogism, you will always end with an if-then statement if possible. Law of detachment, you will never give an if-then statement. You will just give the conclusion to your if-then statement. Okay, so law of syllogism, you'll get an if-then. Law of detachment, you will not get an if-then. Okay? Okay, so look at this second one. If you do gymnastics, then you are flexible. If you do ballet, then you are flexible. What's the same? Flexible, okay? So this would go away, this would go away. You're left with, if you do gymnastics, if you do ballet. Does that make sense? No. You have to have an if-then. Okay? If it's an if, so hypothesis, hypothesis, or if you have a conclusion, conclusion, it doesn't work. It has to be a new conditional statement, new if-then. So you would just say this is not possible. Okay? Questions on that? All right, how about this one? Oh, if a while number. That's a whole number. Sorry. If a whole number is divisible by 10, then it's divisible by 5. If a whole number ends in 0, then it's divisible by 10. Do you know what you're going to get rid of? Divisible by 10. Now notice, this is not in the same order as what we learned it in, right? But you're not necessarily looking for order here. You're looking for information. The two things that are the same are divisible by 10. what's the statement you end up with then? Okay, but we want an if-then statement, right? So you're going to write it not in the order you got it. If a whole number ends in 0, then it is divisible by 5. Okay? So don't let the order of it confuse you. They just switched the two statements here. Totally fine. It's still an if-then statement that is true. Okay? Okay, and now the best. The best of the best. Example 3 here is going to take the law of syllogism and the law of detachment and combine them. Okay? So this is your whole setup. If you live in Cerritos, then you live in California. If you live in California, then you live in the U.S. James lives in Cerritos. Anybody know what conclusion you could make from that? James lives in the U.S. Okay, so here's the deal. When it's syllogism and detachment together, you always do syllogism first. Okay, so we're going to start with these two statements. If you live in Cerritos, you live in California. If you live in California, you live in the U.S. What goes away? California. So we're going to take this away. We're going to take this away. And we're left with, if you live in Cerritos, then you live in the U.S. It says James lives in Cerritos. So this is if P then Q. And they told us P is true. You then say Q is true. So we would say James lives in the U.S. Okay? What if they had said James lives in the U.S. instead of James lives in Cerritos? What would you say? Because they gave us the conclusion. What happens when they give you the conclusion instead of the hypothesis? What do you say? Not possible. Because if James lives in the U.S., he could live in Bellflower, right? He could live in a totally different city. Still in the U.S., but Bellflower. Questions on that? All right, that is detachment and syllogism.